Hey, Professor Homa back here with part 2 of EX1 Colorize, and I'm going to take us right from the beginning. And we looked at the finished version, or it's not perfect, but most of the finished version of kind of what you're going to work on. And there's other images in here that we may work on, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do File Open, and I'm going to open up the JPEG that I have of that image. And I'm going to go to my Exercises folder, and I'm going to find my EX1 Colorize, which you could download from eLearning. And in there's a couple images that we can work with. You can see there's some ones that are already saved. And I'm going to open up just the JPEG first, the black and white bridge. I'm going to open that up. And there it is. Now this is in grayscale mode. If you notice here it says gray 8. And over here in my color palette you could see it just has white through black. And just if you're not familiar with how color modes work, grayscale color mode basically has shades of gray, or I should say white to black, and every shade in between of 0 through 255. So it's kind of an 8-bit channel. It's one channel of black and white, but the grays that can be in between anywhere. So just for example, if I take my eyedropper and click anywhere on this, I'll click on the siding of this, and I double click, what you'll see in your color picker, you'll see your RGB numbers. You'll also see a hex number down here, but you'll see your RGB numbers, and they're all the same. The reason they're all the same is because RGB numbers, they're all going to be evened out to make gray. So we're really working in grayscale right now. We're going to have to go back and work in RGB mode in order to add color. Grayscale image, you can't add color. Even when you go to change your paintbrush, it's only going to be black and any shade in between, which again is 255. Now, when we change the mode, we're going to go to Image, Mode, RGB, and it won't look any different because we didn't change anything in here. It just changed it to color mode, so everything's going to be pretty much the same. If I select a color here, it's still going to be the same. It's still going to have all the same RGB values, but now I'm going to be able to add color to this image. And you can see there's 3 channels now, and that's what RGB mode is. It's 24-bit, meaning there's 3 8-bit channels of 0 through 255. Zeros are, if everything's at 0, it's all black. If everything's at 255, it's all white. And each channel can be kind of up higher. So if your red channel's all the way up, you're going to have more red. If your green channel's all the way up and your others are down, you're going to have all the way green. Same thing with blue. And if you kind of alternate those, you'll find you'll actually come up with the CMY colors when you kind of balance those against each other. But just wanted to get you a little familiar with RGB color, because that's what we'll be working in. That's what our computers work in. Our monitors work in RGB color. CMYK would be ink colors for print, which we're not doing right now, but you can convert at some point. So anyway, back to this, we're going to need to add color in this because we want to colorize it. So we have to be in RGB mode. And I'm also going to save this, so I'll save it. I'll do a save as, and I'll save it as a Photoshop file so we can work with layers, because a JPEG would not allow us to work with layers. Now I have some other ones over here. I'll just call this 3 for now, since I had a couple versions that I had worked on. So I'll call it 3, but you could just call it EX1 Bridge, or you could call it EX1 Colorize, whichever one you want to do, and you could just use your last name first initial. So I'm going to save that right now. And what I'm going to do now is kind of follow the directions and start creating layers above this to work on. So that way, if I screw anything up, I'm not messing with my original, not painting right on the background layer. And it's not even a layer right now, it's just the background. So I'm going to go down here in my layers palette and add a layer. And the first one I'll do, I'll kind of work from the biggest areas. I'll call this one grass, and I'm just going to review the process of making these layers of what we're going to do. So first of all, it's typing the name correctly, so I'll call it grass. Next thing you want to do, and it is, I'm going to go over here and I'll make sure that my foreground and background color is black and white, because everything we do, we just want to be in black. That way, if we ever change anything, we'll just be painting with black. It'll make things a lot easier when we want to make edits. So we're going to make sure when we paint that it's working in black, our foreground color is in black. So we're going to do that in the tool palette. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the layer mode and do a couple things here. We're going to change it from normal and scroll all the way down and make it color. Now we didn't add anything here yet, we just changed that layer mode to color. Then we're going to add a layer style by going to Layer, Layer Style, and we're going to go to Color Overlay. That allows you to add color to a layer that goes over top. Now right now it'll always show up with red by default for some reason, And without even knowing right now, I'm just going to choose some kind of green. And I'll go in here and choose some kind of dark green because it's going to be for grass. And I'll hit OK. Now also, one other thing not to forget is we're also going to change the blend mode in here because this is really going to be doing the colorizing. So we're going to change the color mode. You know, not only is our regular mode going to be changed to color, but also our color overlay is going to be changed to color. So we have to do this twice. We do it with our layer, and then we also do it with our color overlay layer style, or our layer effect, however you want to call it. And I'll hit OK. So every layer is going to look like this. It's going to have an effect color overlay. When you double click on it and you go into color overlay, it should be the color that you plan to color that that item, whether it's grass or sky or stone or siding. And also the blend mode should be set to color. And you could always change this color, so don't worry about the color yet. You don't have to mess with opacity. You can mess with the layer opacity if you want to kind of lighten it up or let more of the grayscale show through. So I'll hit OK. All right, so that's all I'm going to do with grass. Now, just if you wanted to test this out, you could take your brush, and if you just paint it, now always with your paintbrush, check the hardness of your brush. You know, for what you're doing, if you're doing a lot of hard edges, you want to keep the hardness up there and the size. Okay, so if you're doing big areas, make the brush real big. It'll be easier to paint. Okay, so, and I don't want to do too much yet because we have some other things to do yet, but I'll do it over here in an area that's not really going to affect us. So I'll just start painting over here, and you can see this is what the colorize does. And it may not be the color you want, but I'm just going to paint over here in this colorize area, but I'm on my grass layer. So, and also a couple little tips with your brush. On your keyboard, if you use your right bracket, it would be your curly bracket or your square bracket, it'll make the brush bigger. Okay, so that if you paint big areas, you could make a big brush, and you could do that as you paint. You can also do shift and use those same keys, and it'll adjust the softness. Although you can't see the softness or hardness, sometimes it's better just to go back up into your brush and adjust that a little bit. But for most of what we're doing here, we probably won't be working soft. We'll be working with a hard brush because we have lots of hard edges. We're not going to be feathering anything, so we'll probably have our brush up. Our hardness setting up all the way for everything that we do. And keep in mind, you can also, since we're talking about brushes, you could go into brushes, and if you've never done this before, you know, you can add custom brushes. There are custom brushes in here that give all kinds of effects. You could paint weeds with like a weed looking brush. You can also go in here and append brushes. They have square brushes. So if you're doing a lot of things like the cement down here or the stone foundation, and it was easier to do corners with a square brush, you could go down here to square brushes and append them. You wouldn't want to replace them. It says replace. No, I don't want to replace them, but you can append them. And that way, if you ever needed to have a square brush, you could go in here and use a square brush and paint. If I chose a square brush and I use my brackets, and I'm just clicking it, so you can make a nice big square brush. Okay, and I'll go back and choose a round brush in here for now, and I'll take it down a little bit. So, and also note that I'm always working in black. I'm not going to be changing my paint color at all. It's always going to be black for everything that we do. And if we wanted to change the green, we just go into the effect. We go to the color overlay, and if you want a more or a less saturated green, you can go over here and I could see it update right here. So that's the way we're going to do things. And on our instructions, and I don't put the instructions for every single layer because once you get this down, you're going to do this for every layer, and you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. But let's do the second one. I'm going to add the second layer. I'm going to call it sky, because I'll do sky next, because I'm kind of working with the layer that we're working with the layers where we're going to deal with these trees here, which may be an issue. So I'll do sky, and then same thing. I'm going to change the color mode or the blending mode for that layer to color, and you won't see anything. I'm going to add a layer style, and it's going to be color overlay, and since it's sky, it's probably going to be light blue, so I'm going to choose like a light blue color for now. Could always change it later. And remember, this mode also has to be changed to color. So that's it. Every layer is going to be done like that, and you can paint with black. It'll use the color of the color overlay to paint with instead of this color. So it's just going to be affecting black. It's kind of you're doing an effect of black every time you paint, which is nice because if you change the color, you don't have to change this. I keep saying that, but when we've done this in the past, we used to be changing color, and it used to be really hard to go back and change the color after the fact. So this will help a lot. All right, one other layer I'll do now is I'll add one more just for now, and I'll call this siding. because it's kind of the red siding, and you could even call it red siding, so you know that it's the red siding on the side of the covered bridge. A lot of covered bridges are red. They look kind of like barns. They look nice in the with green and the blue sky. They're really nice to, if you're into photography, to take pictures of. But same thing here. Color mode or blending mode down to color. Add a layer style. Color overlay. Now it is showing up red now. You could maybe just choose a little more subdued red for now. And then don't forget to change this to color. And if you did, you could go back and do it. It's not a big deal. So all your layers are going to look like this. And you might even want to put siding below sky, you know, because that's kind of the skies above the siding. So that's kind of what we're going to do first. And if we paint it on the siding, it would show up in red here. So everything would be fine. If I went here, it would start showing up in some red if I was on that layer. All right, so notice I'm not messing near the tree because we're going to do something with the tree. But that's pretty much setting up all your layers. All your layers are going to be set up the same way. You could make a layer for stone, which would include this stuff, these foundations at the bottom. We're going to make a layer for tree, and I'll make one more here. I'll make one more layer above this. I'll go through it one more time. I'll call it tree bushes, since we'll do both the tree and bushes. And what I'm going to do here, again, color for the blending mode for that layer, add a layer style. And again, what you could do too is you can right click. If you don't even want to go up there and do all that, you could right click and copy layer style and go to my trees and paste layer style. Now when you paste layer style, it's going to take the same color you pasted, so you may want to check it out because it's showing red right now, so I may want to make it some kind of green because it's going to be the trees. So I'll change that. And it already has the color, so it already has the stuff in. So if you copy and paste the layer style, it's going to have all the settings for you. You just got to change the color. So we have those, and again, the ones we're going to have we're also going to have one for wood and one for stone. And let me just pause for a second. I'll do that. You don't have to watch me do it again. I think you get the idea. Okay, I made all the layers I think that I'm going to need now. And keep in mind, I made one for water. I made one for trees and bushes. We have the sky, siding, and grass. We have stone, which is all the stone parts. And we also have wood, which is this white wood part. If I look at this other one, it's really the inside of the bridge. And even this is painted kind of white, but we might use a stone color for that. Also note that actually the edge of the bridge, and I think going down the edge, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at another picture of it, but I think even going down there, it might be red too. But the inside where those almost windows are, they're not real windows, but where you see the inside beams are actually white. So when we talk about wood, you know, we're talking about this. I'm just going to make this stuff warmer. That's all I'm going to do for that. So when I go back to mine here, I'll zoom in just a little bit. I'll make this stuff kind of like just an off-white. So I didn't do that yet. So let me go to my wood layer, and let me find that down here. Here's my wood layer. On my wood layer, I'll go to my color overlay. Now when I choose that color, I'm going to basically look to just warm up a white a little bit. So I'll go down to the yellows a little bit, and I'm way over here, just looking for a little bit of a warmer white. That's all I need. Just a warmer white. So when I paint on this, and that might be too warm. So if it's too warm, you could change the color, and you could go back and, you know, if it's too warm, take it into the beiges a little bit. And keep in mind, making it dark does not make it dark. So I'll hit OK here, and it updated. So now it's a little subtler. So, you know, it's hard to see yet until we get the other colors there. But we could, like I said, we could always change them after you're done. You could paint the whole thing and then update the colors, which is nice. So we're going to do that. Now, the parts I'm going to do next are going to be painting the sky and the trees and the siding. I'm going to go over that with you. I don't have to be painting everything else, but I'm going to be going over the trees, the siding, and the sky, because those are the complex areas with these things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a mask from a channel, and we're going to be able to load that mask temporarily and kind of paint so that we don't paint over the leaves, we paint through them. It's going to protect them. So if you ever used a layer mask, it works the same way. Black will protect, white will reveal and let you paint, almost like a stencil. So that's the way we're going to work, and we're going to do that on the next part of this. But as long as you have your layers set up and you've saved, you know, then once we get that set up, this will actually be pretty much fun, and you won't have to watch the video. You'll just start doing it. You'll get the hang of it.